Good morning, everyone. I'm wishing you for a great new year starting today. I have two things to discuss today. Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Somebody wanted to say something? Right. The two things are, one is the fact that I've updated this document. So if you look at the version number here, it's version 3. Okay. I've added few additional information for make it easy to start going. Okay. So please have a look at that. And also the table of contents also updated properly. So your attention should go here, commonly used widgets, right? We did some, I also added some things that we didn't do the other day, like say inkwell, image, expanded, flexible, and combining them together. Also stuff on the safe area, which is very, very important when you're using a mobile emulator. Then size box is a very common widget we will be using. Divider also. Then there are 3 kinds of buttons available from Flutter. I have an example here. Scaffold we did the other day. So then there is expanded, flexible, inkwell, image. Then there is another one called expansion tile. Then core layout management widgets. We have some stuff that we need to discuss. I think we did it last time. Yeah. So which brings us to this custom reusable widget. This is what you will be needing for your midterm project. Okay, so we'll discuss that also. So today I'll quickly go through the basics document and then we'll discuss the midterm project. So there is no exam, but it's a project. So you notice this is the hello world, just like any other language like Java, Python, anything. But then Flutter brings us the concept of widgets. Those are basically classes and objects that we bring in from the concept of object orientation. So we have one called main app, that's the class, which extends something called stateless widget. Flutter has 2, stateless and stateful. So far we are only use stateless. It's simple to use and I pretty much does everything for us. And we are also using this override method. If you remember in object orientation, there is something called polymorphism. So this is the polymorphism where we are overriding the parents method called build, and we are putting whatever we want here. So what it does is it basically returns a widget. That's it. So when the main class is passing the main app to method called run app, we are basically passing a copy of the, or rather object of the main app to the run app, yeah, which returns a widget. So this widget can be anything, right? So we also spend a lot of time trying to understand how the composition works, right? The widget composition. They are beautifully connected to each other, right? So there is something called widget tree. That's how it is designed. So widget tree is in fact getting simplified also. So what you see may not be the way it is actually rendered on the mobile phone or the web, because there's a lot of optimization going on also. I'm also sharing the links as and when it is required. So please click here, go there, have a look at it for more details. Basically, this document is a summarization of Flutter website plus few other websites also, just to make sure that you get it faster than going through a huge pile of documentation in Flutter. Also, I've used commonly used widgets, right? There are hundreds of other widgets. I'm not doing it here. So you are welcome to go to Flutter to check them out. Now the first one is the text widget. So here I have given the basic of that. So the basic parameters, say for example, you can, this is the text content. Then you have something called style, which is optional. We also studied about under Dart, something called nullable information, right? So style is a nullable parameter. You can give it or you can skip it. Then under that, you have font size, font weight, height, and color. Now, height is an interesting one because you give it as a multiplier. So if your font size is 24, let's say if your font size is 10 and you give a height of 1.5, so you multiply 10 by 1.5, right? So the line space will be 15, font size is 10. So we call it 10 on 15 in graphic design terminology. So you can adjust it to give spaces between lines, right? And this one we didn't do last time. This is a very, very important one. If you notice, I've been using the Microsoft Edge browser for my output because it's faster. But then you can also have an emulator like what I'm doing here. Now, when it comes to phone, you notice there are some stuff here, right? On the top, there is a clock, some icons and whatnot. In some phone, there is a cutout also, right? There may be a hole for the camera. There may be another pieces, removed from the screen for some gadgets, whatnot. So when you put your entire application inside the safe area widget, the safe area will look after all those things. Now, in my case here, since I've used the safe area, my application runs under the top bar, right? So when you're doing production work, please make sure you are using in your body, start off with a safe area like here, right? And then put whatever you want inside that. The safe area has one child. That's it. The child will be your entire application, right? Then we spoke about row and column that you already understand. Then, size box is another very, very important one. Like I said, there are 3 parameters. Actually, we use most of the time, you notice one parameter only, either width or a height, just to give space between elements, right? We very rarely use the child here. Divide is also another very interesting one. We just call the divide like that. And you get a nice gray color line dividing the elements. Talking of buttons, we have 3 kinds of button available from Flutter: text button, elevated button, outline button, right? And if you notice, they all work the same way. There is some method called onPressed. It's a function, by the way. Then there is one child. Generally, we put a text inside that child. Okay. So I have the example looking here. So also what it does, right? Text button is a simple button with text. Now you don't see a button sort of shape as such. Okay. You use it for less prominent actions. For example, you might want to have an icon, a clickable icon. So you can use a text button for that. Or you want to actually have a button. Then you use elevated button. Outline button is generally use it as a secondary action. So you can give priority to elevated button and a less priority to outline button. So I have an example with all 3 here. I also added some code here. I put a print method here. This is Dart print, okay? So Dart print prints out to the console. So if you want to see what is going on, you need to, from the edge, open the inspector, go to the console, and you can see the output here. So when you click, there is something happening here, right? So that's the text button. On press, I'm having a print, and then child, text button. So very, very simple example. Scaffold we spoke about the other day. So scaffold basically gives you all this, right? The top, the sidebar, the fab, and also the bottom navigation. And these are other things that I wanted to cover today. So expanded is another very good widget that we'll be using very much. what it does is it expands, as in it takes up all the space available, right? So here I have an example. I've put expanded inside a row. In fact, I've given 3 expanded widgets. So in that, I'm using a container. Okay, you know what a container is, where I just added some background color. So first is red, second is green, third is blue. Since it's a row, it's taking the entire space. And along with the expanded, you can also have something called flexible. Now, expanded is taking whatever space available equally. But if you want to control how much space you want to give to each element, you use flexible. We use something called flex box in order to play along. Now, if you look at here, there is a flex 2, flex 1, flex 1. That means this is 3 elements. Out of that, there are 4 columns, I would say. 2 here, 2 plus 1, 3, 3 plus 1, 4. So out of the 4, 2 is given to the first one, 1 is given to the second one, and another one is given to the last one. So this is flexible, as in I can control how much width to take. I can also, since I'm using a container here, I can give a height as well. This can be flexible also. Now, this is a constant expansion. Here's the flexible expansion. Now, you can combine them as well, because sometimes you don't need to say how much flex to take. Like here, for example, you can say flex take 2 in the middle and give the balance to the rest of the areas here. Expanded, expand. In the middle, I have a flexible taking 2 sets of the area. Okay. So this is a combination of expanded and flexible. Another very interesting one is called inkwell. Now, inkwell is an area where it responds to taps, and it also gives us a ripple animation, meaning when you click on it, it gives a nice animation to us. You can bring in a text, you can bring in a photo, you can bring in anything you want and make it clickable. So this is a very interesting widget. It can convert anything to a clickable gadget. So here I have a container in the child. So by the way, Inkwell has 2 very important parameters. One is the on tap method, and then the child. So child, you can give any widget you want here. So I can contain here. Then the next one is also very interesting, image. Now, image, there are 3 ways of bringing in image to your application. One is copying all the image assets to your project folder. That is the preferred way of doing it, because that way you are bundling your images with the application, and every time someone wants to see the image, it is available there within their application. But there are also times where you may have to download the image from the internet. So then you use image network, and you need to give a URL of the image, like in here. Asset will load the image from a folder called assets within your project. I think we did that last time. And then there's also another mechanism called the memory. So sometimes we, especially when you're using the camera, for example, you are getting a bunch of bytes from the camera to the application, right? If you want to load that into the memory area, image area, you use image.memory. Okay, so that's another way to load your image data also. So I also written a complete example. By the way, all this code will be available through my blog, so you can copy paste the code from there. So what I'm doing here is I have image network, right? Child, the center, and I've given a URL. This is called my Gravata image, my Gravata profile picture. So there is a website called Gravata where anyone can store their profile picture, and you don't need to keep uploading your picture to so many different applications. When you give your email address, it will pull the profile image from this place. And here we have other additional stuff like loading builder, an error builder. So the loading builder is if you notice when you are downloading from the internet, we don't know whether it is downloading or is it downloaded or there is an error. So loading builder allows you to show a progress icon, right? So we know something is going on. Yeah. So how do you do that? Okay, in this example, so I'm checking, is loading progress null, right? If the loading progress is null, then return the child. Okay. Otherwise, return a loading icon, right? So I'm passing on circular progress indicator. So if the loading is complete, I'm passing whatever that is loaded. Otherwise, I'll show a circular progress indicator. And if there is an error, it will basically return some text saying error loading image. Now in this one, I'm also showing error in the console. So I have a print error method, so I can see what is going on. So when you run, this is what you see. This image is loaded from the internet and it's loaded to the area. Then we have expansion tile, which is it's a collapsible tile. Actually, it's like a drop down where when you click, it drops down, right? So it says children, which shows one after the other. So there's a title, which you see like this, right? There's expandable tile, which says here. And when you click on this, it'll drop down like that. So I have a sub item 1 and a sub item 2. So in this example, you can see the code, right? So children, I have a widget array or a widget list. In this case, I have one list tile and I have another list tile. Okay. And also you can handle some clicking. Say, for example, if someone clicks on this, you can do something about it. You can take them to another screen, maybe show some additional information, all that. And this we covered last time, core layout management. So we looked at container, grid view, list view, stack, and also card and list style, right? So I've also summarized the code here, for example. So last time I only had the complete code, but you can see how the container works by looking at this, right? So there is a width and a height. There's also color. There is padding, margin, and also there's a child, right? So here's an example here. And also I made this bold so you understand the container that we're talking about here. Grid view is interesting. There are two kinds of grid views, count and extend. We saw this. This is using the extend. This is using the count, 6 elements. Then we also looked at the list view. Okay, it also has a simplified view. So list view has children. It's an array. So for that, you can have list tiles. All right. You notice in these examples, I'm using other child classes also. Now here I'm using a enumerator, for example, for colors, and I'm using color grid, this one, right? Another object, another class rather. So same goes here. So under list view also, this is very common practice. To the body, I'm just passing the build list. You understand why there's an underscore here, right? Because it's a private method. Other classes cannot call this directly, and only the class within here, that is main app, can call build list method. So build list method is in fact a widget type. It has actually it is returning a list view with these children, right? So this is the other one where we are using this text. There are two text and one icon in the parameters, right? We are calling the constructor, you see, title, subtitle, icon. Again, all the things we learn under Dart is being used here. So here we have two sets. In fact, here I can also show you the divider. See, we are using the divider here. So divider is this line, the gray color line. So we show one set here and another set here. Movie theaters and restaurants. And also we can have list style with leading and trailing content. Oh, by the way, this is how you put images, right? This is your pubspec.yaml file. You need to add a section called assets because it's generally not there. And then dash assets images, right? It looks like this, your folder. And then under the images, you have to put your image. You can use any type, JPEG, GIF, JPG, PNG. And this is how you use that. Asset image, assets, images, the file name. So here we are using list view. Under list view, there is one list style and there's another list style. In between, we also have a divider. Okay. Again, another divider. So it looks like this. And if you notice, there is one section here, another section here, and another section. So there are 3 pieces, in fact, for every list style. So one piece is leading. It's a circle avatar. The circle avatar has an image. And the second is the title and then the subtitle. The title is the bigger one. Subtitle is the smaller gray color one. And then trailing is at the end. I have another icon called the chevron right. So generally we use this kind of thing to display a list of data and allow them to click here to see the detail of that item. So this is a very common practice to use. Now this is the proper way of doing it, but if you really want to break it into 2 columns, well, you can. What you do is we use a row, right? So here we have 2 column list view. Under this, we are using a row, okay? And then under row, we have children. So one child is the left column and the other one is the right column. Yeah, so it can be anything you wish to have. So this is the post way of doing it, but this is the usual way of doing 2 columns. And then we learn about the stack, right? Where we put one on top of another. We can use stack, right? So here's a stack. And then we have children. So there is container, and then another inside the container. Oh no, actually we have another positioned text as well. So we actually have 3 elements here. The yellow color box, red color box, and the white color text. And they are running on top of each other. So whatever you put it at the end comes to the top. You can also play with alignment center. Now, alignment center made all the elements centered aligned. You can have left, center, right, middle, different ways of aligning as well. The next very, very important one is card. The card has elevation and a child, one child, right? To that child, generally we bring in a list style so that we can play with the leading, trailing, title, subtitle, all that we can do. Okay, so I have an example for that as well here. Now in this example, I'm using my own class here. So there are 2, my card widget. So I'm using 2 copies of the same thing. So here's my card widget. So there is the elevation of 4. Now this is the margin to give space around my card. And then child has a column widget. So in that I have children. So I have a list style, I have a divider, I have padding, right? So if you look at the output, it looks like this. And then you have the, so the top is a list style, then you have a divider, and the next is padded text, which is here. Now this is what you will need in order to do your midterm exam or other project. You'll be using a lot of stuff that we cover under this project. So this is how you create a reusable widget. Yeah, this is an example as well. So that's the reusable widget itself called the reusable card. and then you use that within your main code, like here, right? You can pass on some parameters also to it, and it will show accordingly, like here. I've also added a clickable mechanism so that we can even have a clickable mechanism as well. Right, so that's what we covered so far. Let's switch into our midterm now to see what is the expectation. So this 100 marks will be scaled accordingly. So look at the instructions. Submit your answer as a single zip file. So it's a single zip file, okay? And in that zip file, what do you need to include? You need to include the code. You need to include screenshots of the UI, and also you need to write a chapter on lessons learned. What did you learn in doing so? When you go through this, what did you learn? So you may have to note down the elements that you will be covering, or whatever you learned so far while doing this exercise, and then put that as an essay at the end of the document. Make sure this document also in your submission. So let me go to the end of the document. So if you look at here, it says paste the code here. All right. So make sure you use fix with font, like say I use Consolas. You can use Consolas, or where is that? You can use Courier, or you can use Consolas, right? Either one is fine. And then here, this is where you put your UI, like I showed the other day. You can use the print screen and capture the UIs, and then lessons learned. Your essay will be here. Right, so what needs to be done? Let's see. This is the layout we are trying to build, not the whole thing, right? This is the final product. I don't want you to do the whole thing. If you can do the whole thing, very good. Otherwise, perfectly okay. What I want you to do is this card. Okay, this card. And this is the breakdown of those elements. So if you look at it, you can see there's a card here. And notice the top left and the top right have rounded corners. Bottom left and bottom right doesn't have that. Okay, but here we have all four. Then in the card background, you have a photo. And then on top of that, we have an info box. Now, how do you do that? You need a card, and you need to learn how to bring in a background picture to the card. That's number one, right? And then you learn how to bring in a stack element, that is a box element on top of the card. So that's number one. And number two is breaking down of that info box. This is the info box, right? So on the left, we have a tile, and on the right, we have the price. So now what do you think we should be using here? Okay, this is one row. Here's another row. Here's another row. So this has actually 3 rows. And if you notice, there is something called a flexible widget, right? Where you can control the amount of space to give to left and the right. So that you can use here, flexible widget. And then for the stars, no, sorry, for the second row, you have 3 elements, right? You have the address, you have the distance from your current location, which is number 2, and the number 3 actually is part of the price. So that's another piece. So you can either, I think this is going to be a row, you can decide whether to have a flexible. I think you should use a row. And then remember the spacing arrangement, you can use space between. So that way you will get nicely arranged 3 elements. One in the middle, first one will be left aligned, last one will be right aligned. And the next one, row 3, is the stars, right? So there are 2 now. There's a rating and there is a count. right? So these two are sitting next to each other. So you could have one row with two elements here. Okay. Now, if you break down the rating further, there is a collection of stars, right? So this is looks very complicated, but it doesn't look so when you start drawing the hierarchy or the tree map of the elements. So start off with the stars, rather the bottom of the row, right? Start with the star, then put the counter, and then connect those two to the next row, and then to the next row, and then to the info box, and then to the card. So once you create one card, you can reuse it everywhere. Okay. Now, the objective is to create a reusable card, right? But if you look at the marking scheme, maybe everyone may not be able to complete everything, but it's all right. Look at the way you're getting marks. Draw the widget hierarchy, you get 20 marks. What is the widget hierarchy? That's map with the circles and arrows and whatnot, right? That's the widget hierarchy. And then create the widget as per the UIs given, 20 marks. Okay. And then create 3 elements from the widget you created. That is making 3 cards. If you know how to make reusable cards, well, that's number 3. And if you can do any of that, there's 60 marks that you can get, right? And copy paste the code to your document. If you copy paste the code, you get 10 marks. If you do not copy paste your code, you will not get marks. And if you copy paste the UI to your document, that is the screenshots, you get 10 marks. If you don't copy paste your UI, you will not get that mark. And then if you write lessons learned essay, you are getting 20 marks there, right? And then once you do everything, zip the whole thing and upload. Okay. I've also given some documentation here. 2 are coming from Flutter. Another one is an excellent Medium article. And also, this is a very good one, the Flutter row widget. So go through this documentation also to understand what is going on here. Now, this is a sample combination of the info box, right? This is Queen Hotel, 180. So here, Fort Colombo, 2 kilometers to city per night. And then here you have stars, and right next to it, you have the count, how many stars and basically how many reviews here, right? Now, if you notice, some stars are dark, some stars are outlined. That is, now this Grand Royal Hotel is 4-star now, given by the people. And Queen Hotel is 4 stars. Oh, hold on. Is it the star class? Yeah, I think it's a star class. Yeah. The reviews are here. So this is the 5-star hotel has 5 stars. 4-star hotel has 4 stars. Likewise. Okay. So that's the midterm. And then as you can see, this is how you get the marks. Now, just to get it started, let me give you a hand in with a sample, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into an example here, right? Layout tutorial. This is what I'm going to look at now because it is coming from Flutter. We will be able to do that nicely there. So I'm going to copy this URL and switch to my browser. So this is the URL. Yeah, so this is a Flutter example. So here, if you come down to nesting rows and columns, you see a very similar example that we are trying to do here. So in this example, we are trying to build this piece, this red color box. So what's going on here? So we have a container as the parent, and there I have a row, and there are two elements in the row, isn't it? One row, two elements. One side has stars, the other side has text. So the stars, there are 5 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they are icons. And the text is just hanging there. So we can start by doing this piece first before we get into everything, right? So how do we do that? All right. So here's the stars, this star, 5-star thing. So the 5-star itself is a row. Okay. And there are icons. So there are 5 icons here. So the first icon is color green. And the second is also color green. Third also color green. Fourth, fifth is color black. Right? Because it's a 3-star thing. And also this line is very important. So here we are taking the minimum space. That means absolute minimum we are taking. Right? So that's the stars, 5 stars. And then we are taking this one line, these two, which is again coming in as a container. The container has a row, right? So the container has a row, and the row has 2 pieces. On one side, okay, we have stars, which we created here. And the other side, we have text. That is 170 reviews. And we can have some styles here. Black color, weight of the font family, letter spacing, font size. We don't need to do all that. We can go with the default, but I guess you see the picture now. Okay. So let me share my Visual Studio. So I'm going to switch to full screen share. Right. Now I'm going to go to my Visual Studio Code, which is here. Control Shift P, right? Flutter new project, empty application. I'm going to select this folder here. Or maybe I'm going to go to the assignment folder. Select the folder. Let's say info box. Oh, underscore info box. When I do that, I get this scaffolding, we call it, the template project of Flutter, right? And I am going to click the play button. And here I can have multiple options. So I also have an emulator. So later we will change the emulator, but for now I'm going to use the Edge browser. And I can minimize all these other sites, which I don't need. And when it started, I can then switch the screen also to, or rather split the screen to left and right. It is starting. You can see from here, I can stop, right? I can reload. Here it's running now. And also here it says which device it is running. Right now I'm using the Edge browser to see my preview. Okay, it's coming. I can make it smaller now. So here I'm going to split the screen this way so I can see what is happening here by changing what is happening here. Okay, so I will need additional information. So I'm going to go back here. So I need this row, isn't it? The star. So let's copy the stars first. So I can have it here before the override. Oops. Okay. Right, I'm getting some error messages. I'll fix that later. Okay, so I'm going to get the container also here. Right. Okay, I brought it inside. Nice, my preview. Okay, nothing changing in my preview because I didn't add anything there. So if I add the ratings widget, see what happens now. Rather than child text here, I'm going to add the rating widget. So I'm not getting that. Oh, there you go. All right. So what did I just do? I created two things actually. I created the stars, right? And I have 5 stars. You can see 3 are green, 2 are black. Yeah. You can even have an outline also if you want to. If you want the outline star, it's actually another icon. You have to get it from the icon library. Then now, but I'm actually using one single icon and changing the colors, right? And then I have this text and everything. So if I change the font family, font weight, all that, and just keep the color only, I get a very basic text here, right? And also, if I can, just say color green without giving any shade, that also can be done. So I'll get just the green, right? Pure green and black. And what else I can remove? Yeah, so this style also, of course, you can have a color style, but if you remove it, it will still work. right? Still works. I'm keeping bare minimum now. Right. So what did I do now? I made the first piece of this now, right? So if you go back to the document here, this look more like the last row, isn't it? But yeah, I need an outline icon. So where do I get the outline icon? So if you go to the internet and say, show me the material icons, you can get it there. So material icons. Here we go. Right. So outline is what I'm looking for. So it says star. There you go. Star border. Oops. Right. There are so many. There's half also available. Okay. Star border outline icon. So this is the name I need to copy. Yeah. I don't need the whole thing actually. I just need to say star border outlined icon. So rather than remembering, I will, where is that? I just need this guy. Let's try to get it from here. Star border outline. There you go. Now let's see here. There I have it, right? So I can in fact copy this and paste it here as well. Okay. Now I have it. Now if I want, I can also have the outline as green so that there is some consistency here. There you go. Much better. Okay. So heading back to my document. So last piece is done. Is the text correct? It says reviews. Yeah, it's correct. How about the road number 2? Right, this one. Port Colombo 2 kilometer city per night something. Now that again is another row, isn't it? So I need that row also. So where do I put that? And you will notice I will need, well, here I have rating only showing. So I need 3 rows here. So which means this will be changed to row later after I do the testing. So this is the last piece. So I'm gonna go here and that also, as you notice, will be a row. So I will need a very common something like this for that as well. Okay, so it's not stars, it will be what do you call it? Location maybe, right? So it's not minimum, it will be space between. Oh, actually, makes axis alignment, space between. Okay, done. And I need to have my children here. So here, can I have text objects? Yeah, I can have text objects. So all I need is some text object, isn't it? So I'm going to copy some information from here, Fort Colombo. And then I need 2, right? So 2 kilometers to city. And then here per night. Okay. So I have something called location, and it's a row and it has 3 texts. Now I am going to try this guy out here by replacing the rating. There you go. I have it. Now, how can I bring this and the stars together? Well, to do that, I need a row again, right? So rather than saying body center, I will say row here now. So it's not child, it's children. Okay. And it will be an arrow here. So I need ratings first, then no, actually location, then ratings, isn't it? Oh, sorry, it's not row, it's column. There we go, right? Don't worry about the alignment to the middle. So we are still okay. But we need to worry about the stars and this thing because they are getting aligned to the see space evenly. It's gone. So this is for the stars. So I want it to be left aligned. So that is the start. There we go. Right. So 2 pieces done. Now I need the one on the top, which is row number 1. So there I have the name of the hotel and the price here, right? So I can have a row and then have 2 children. That also can be done, right? By giving a space between. So it will be adjusted to both ends. Let's try that. So this is the stars, ratings. It also have some information here. And my first row, I'll be having it here. Okay, so that will be again something similar to this. So let's call it name. There I have 2 elements actually. So Queen Hotel. Make sure you continue to format it as well. So name is name should be on the top. So I'm gonna come back here and put the name here. There we have it. Only thing is I need to make the font size larger, isn't it? So that we will do with the styles, right? Style, I need to say, so if you notice, right? So this is the styling. So color, I don't want, I want the font weight and font size, right? So I'm going to just copy this and then remove whatever I don't need. I don't need this and this. Color black, yes. Okay, looking good. So I can then copy the same thing to this as well. There you have it. Okay. But then we have few things, like for example, we should have some space between these two, isn't it? Now I can do it in different ways. The simplest way is to add a space box here. Remember the spacing? Where is that? If you remember the basic components. This one, size box, right? So I'm going to use height only there. So let's have one here. Oh, it's gone on. Height, let's give about maybe 20 or something, right? Hmm. Oh boy, I think I got rid of the location. Right, much better. I may require it again after the location as well, so that I can have a consistency. That's too much. Right, there we have it. So this can be essentially my info box, right? So if you notice, I built this part and I called it info box. If you look at the project name, it's info box. So now I can bring this in to my other project, other component rather. If you look at the PDF, it shows how to do that, a reusable component. Okay, here, right? Custom reusable widget. So this is one file you can have, reusable Dart in this case. Now, since we wrote the info box, I can, use that as a file in my next project, which is going to be the card, right? So, okay. So this is my info box, right? So I can, in fact, rename this as info box, right? And then go on, work on this. So I'm going to leave it here now, and let's work on the card. So this is my info box, and right, the name of the project is info box. So I'm going to create another one called, let's say, hotel card, maybe, right? Maybe a hotel, I'll call it. So new project, new Flutter project, empty. Let's call it hotel. Well, I can close this guy now and then start playing this. So coming back here, all I need is a card, isn't it? With a background picture. So, oops. My gosh. Okay, so let's go to the reference here, Flutter reference. Let's look for the card. Let's okay, so here's the card. Where's the card? Here we go. So the card has one child, as it says, right? So here we have a card with a picture. In fact, this is exactly what you're trying to do, isn't it? So there is a code as well available here. So here's a card. Here we have got two columns for this, right? So you can do it this way also. I mean, it's up to you whether to have a card background or a image on the top and then have the box down there as a two-column affair. So let's see. So here we have used a column. There are two children. There's a divider here. Right. So let's start by having two columns in the card and then see whether we can bring in an image to the top, right? And there is also some text on top of this going on. We may not need that. Actually, one thing you can do by bringing in a card background is you can have semi-transparency also. Actually, if you stack, you can use semi-transparent info box down here. That'll be nice. But well, of course, there are different ways to do the same question. So you can have columns, you can have an image background, whatever it may be. So let's try to have two columns to the card. Okay. So we have center, a child. Let's try with the card. All right. So same thing. But the only thing is with this card, we need to do a little bit of work, as in we need to have space around it and whatnot. So if you look at our example here, okay, this is a good example. So we have the card, we have an elevation and also margin, which is something that you should have so that you can have space around it. There you go. That is put inside the column. Okay. So we can column. I'm building it slowly. You could do it as well. So I'm going to have it under. Right. So I'm starting from the left hand here. So we should start with the list style. Okay, we got our card up here. Oh no, not that. I don't need that. In fact, I should have received a container here. Container. I'm dynamically building this. It'll take some time, but I guess you understand what is happening here, right? So what you need to do is to go check out what components you need, right? Now, for example, the best one to use there would be a container. So I can have a container taking up the entire space, like here, right? And then start putting things into it. So container is available. There is also the flexible component available, right? You can bring in a image into it. Yeah. So you can have two columns, and on the first column, you can bring in the picture to it. So I have container. So there are different ways of getting it done. So I'm going to leave it that to you to do the research. Otherwise, I will end up doing your midterm exam. So go through the widgets available here in my document, as well as you're free to go to Flutter website and see what the best thing to do. Now, you notice I have two projects now, right? So the first one I created was the info box. And second, I was testing with another one. Yeah. So later you will combine these two together. Now, how to do that is here it says reusable widget down here. This one, custom reusable widget, right? So there are two files I use. One is the reusable gadget or the widget, and then your main application. So in the main application, you have to import that one. Okay. Then you will use that name here. So there are two copies used here. So in fact, that is actually coming as a package. So, right. You bring it in and start using it. So let me see whether I have it under the usability. No, it's under Flutter. No, the source code is here, right? So what is required here is to basically do something like this. Create one hotel and another hotel and another hotel so that we can start reusing it. Although it may seem complex in the beginning, but if you break it down, like what I did now, you will be able to get any complex design as you wish, right? So you saw how I started, right? I started with the bottom one, the third row first. So I got the stars and then I started adding the other text. Then I tested this one. Then I tested this one separately. Then I put all three together into one column. And then I saved it there. After that, I started working on the other one, the image, bringing in the image to the system. Okay. So all this time, we are using one very important aspect of Flutter called the stateless widget hierarchy or the stateless widget mechanism. Now, you may notice there's one more thing that is something that we didn't do. That is clicking and going to another screen. That also we didn't do so far. So in the next class, we will be looking at how to go from one screen to another. And also, before we get there, we need to learn one very important lesson, stateful widget. A stateful widget is about storing information so that when you click things, when you go to another screen, when you come back and all that, things get updated, right? Now, I'll give you a quick example before we go today. It's actually, this one is this nice animation here. Now look at this animation. So this is the widget hierarchy. Okay, I have my app, and inside my app, I have a variable called cart. I don't say variable, it's an object. Okay, so that object can have what you bought, the unit price, total, everything can be there. Now see, when I go to login screen, I am here. From the login screen, let's start from the beginning. Okay, no, not here. Here's the login screen. I log into the system, and then I'll be here in my catalog, right? So there are lots of different products here in my catalog. I click any of that, that product is added to the cart variable. And when I go to the cart, it shows the contents of the cart. So it's a very simple explanation of how stateful widget works. Stateful widget means your entire application has a common thing called a state. Now, why that is important? Because every time you click something, your screen is repainted or refreshed. When you refresh, your variables are all gone, unless you are a stateful widget. Now, if you notice our code, all this time we are using stateless widget, isn't it? All our apps are stateless so far. So if we are to go to stateful, we need to change this to stateful widget. And there is also another little thing we need to do. We need to have something called state in the common area of the application. And after that, we keep updating that as we go forward. All right. So those are the two things we will be covering. With that, I guess almost 90% is covered for mobile app development. If at all, anything remaining would be publishing. Now for that, you have to get a Google account in order to publish. But then there are other ways of previewing it, like you can plug in a cable, USB cable, load that into your application and run it, or you can export something called APK file, and you can start sharing it with your friends also. Right. Any questions?